Okay, so right when the video cut off, the nice thing about the shape tween is you can have one shape in one place and then it can morph into a different shape. So that's why it's called a shape tween. So it's okay that this one is not the same one. All right, so do a Command S to save your file. And then we're going to need our scene panel. And if you don't have your scene panel open, you'll go to Window, Other Panels, and then Scene. Now, scene is kind of how we divide things. So whenever we want to do a change in scenery or if we want to duplicate something, this is how we do it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to have two people walking. We're going to have one scene with one for a basic walk cycle, and then we're going to have one that's done a little bit differently. But we want to use this as the background for all of them. So we're going to duplicate this scene. You see this button down here, the one in the middle. If you hover over it, it does say duplicate scene. So if I click on the two of them, you can see that they are the same one. I want you to rename it though, and I want it to be all lowercase and call the first one scene 1 with no space. Second one, same thing, lowercase, and then call it scene 2 with no space. Sometimes if you put ActionScript on stuff in Flash, it can become very particular if you have spaces or if you have capital letters. So it's better to just get it all lowercase, no spaces from the beginning. Okay? So at this point, we want to make sure we're on scene 1, and we're going to go back and make sure our playhead is at frame 1, and we're going to create a new layer, and this layer needs to go at the very top. And we're going to go ahead and call this Egghead Walks, for lack of better of anything else. Notice I have all of my other layers locked. So I'm going to start by using my ellipse tool, and I want to have a black stroke, and I want the stroke size actually to be 10. And I want the color of the fill to be a specific color, 993333. It's kind of a maroon red color. Hit return, and then it goes on the screen. Okay, I'm actually going to turn the wireframe on the sky layer so that to make that a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to draw then over on the right side of my stage, I'm going to draw an oval. Oops. Oh, and the reason you don't see the stroke is, remember, the background is black. Okay, so maybe I need it there now. And once you draw it, I want to go ahead and convert this to a symbol. This is going to be a movie clip, and we're going to call it Egghead. And I'm going to keep the registration point in the center. And then I'm going to double click to go inside that symbol. Now, this is going to be the body of our egghead. So I'm going to go ahead and label this layer body, and I'm going to lock it. And then I'm going to create a new layer. And on this new layer, we're going to create the legs. Okay? And I'm going to use the oval tool again. And I do want you to notice that I am in merge drawing mode. Okay? So I'm going to draw a leg right about here. And I'm going to use this lasso tool because I'm actually going to cut off part of it. So I'm going to go here. And you see it selects that top part. Now I can delete. Then I can use the arrows on my keyboard to kind of move it up and get it in a position that I want. And if I need to, I can also use the push and pull to shape it a little bit. It's not moving for me there. There it goes. Okay. All right. Now, once I have one layer or one leg done, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to move it away so it doesn't accidentally merge with it. And I'm going to modify, whoops, transform, and I'm going to flip horizontal. Now, if I were to put this leg here, it would look like this egg head is looking at me. Okay, and I don't want it looking at me. I want it actually walking a certain direction. So I'm going to cut that new leg, and I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to then paste in place. Okay, and then I can kind of position the leg where I want it. Now, what I want is I want layer 2 to be renamed right leg. I want layer 3 to be renamed left leg, and then I want left leg layer behind the body layer. Now notice that it kind of looks like he's facing that direction. Okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to go back to the body layer real quick. And I want to make a little face. Nothing completely fancy, but I'm going to use my oval tool. I'm going to, actually let me do this first. Typically the leg that's further away gets a little bit darker. So let me go to the left leg layer, and I'm going to select just the color of the fill. And this is the color that it is right now. So I'm going to make it go, oops, a little bit darker. Let's see if it got it enough. It really didn't go darker. It just went. So let me go to my color panel. And actually I'll use my color panel. See this right here? If I drag it down, that's going to make it darker and keep it in the same color family. You see the difference there? All right, so that's what I'm using is the color panel. Now I'll lock the left leg, and I'm going back to the body. I'm going to use an oval tool. I'm going to make my eyes blue, and I'm going to reduce the stroke size to about 3. And I'm going to create an eye, and I'm going to position it. Oops. And notice how it cut. Let me Command Z. Instead of putting it on the body layer, I apologize, we're going to put it on the face layer. Okay. And I shall paste it in. Oops. I didn't copy it. Okay, so I have to draw it over again. But that'll be easy. All right, so I'm going to draw one there. And then I'm going to double click on it to select it, duplicate it so that there's 2 of them. Notice that even though there's 2 eyes, because they're on this side of the body, they're looking that way. Okay? Then I can use my line tool, and I can draw a line, which I can bend into a smile or a frown, depending on what type of day you're having. Okay, so now my face is done. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make the actual walk cycle. And this is going to be pretty easy. So, excuse me. So I have all my layers locked. I'm going to start with my right leg. I'm going to unlock that leg. I'm going to need to convert it to its symbol though. This is going to be right leg. I'm going to make it a graphic and click OK. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to put a motion tween on this. Now, it looks as if everything else has disappeared. It has not. All we have to do is put in frames with an F5 so that everything lasts the same amount of time. Okay? All right, so what we want to do then is I want to put a keyframe. Actually, I want to use the transform tool. I want to use and move my little pivot point to where the joint of the leg would be. That way it rotates on that joint. Okay? And I think that the pivot point maybe needs to be over here a little bit. Yeah. And I want to go ahead and start with the leg probably about as far back in the walk position as it will go. And then I want to insert a keyframe in frame 30. That way it's in the same place at 1 as it is in 30. Then I'll move my playhead to 15 and I'll grab my leg. My pivot point is still there, and now I can move it forward. Okay? So now if I play it, so it starts forward and moves back and moves forward again. And the reason that that's important is because as it repeats itself, we want the end to be in the same place as the beginning. Okay? So now we have to do the same thing with the left leg. So I will modify convert to symbol, call this left leg. And now, if after I put on the motion tween, if the right leg started in the back position, that means that the left leg should start in the forward position. So that's where it's going to start, right there. Then I'm going to insert a keyframe with an F6, move my playhead to 15, and move it back. Okay? So now, when I play, you see the legs working against each other. One's forward, one's backward. Okay? So now our basic walk cycle is done with. All right, now I'm going to go back to scene 1. And I'm going to put this to where I can see the whole thing, show frame. And I'm going to move my egghead so he's about half on the stage and half off. And I'm going to put a motion tween on him. And then I'm going to move my playhead to 120. And I'm going to move him to where he's partly off the stage at the bottom of the stage. Okay? Now if you look, you can see that this created what is called a spline path. And remember that that's what the symbol follows. Okay? However, I could bend my spline path using, my arrow, and that might be a little bit in the wrong place. I need it to be more over here. That way he looks like he's kind of walking forward. There we go. Now the other thing we can do to make it look like he's walking forward is to make him a little bit bigger in the last frame. So he gets a little bit bigger as he walks closer. There we go. Now, in order to see the movie clip play, you have to do the command enter.